Welcome to the Sprint Finish Line triathlon training program Zoom recording about swimming. So we are on a live call, so I will be answering questions at the end, but swimming is obviously a very essential part of triathlon, and it's one of the sports that can cause the most frustration, and usually the largest number of people have a difficulty with swimming. So it's very comprehensive what we're going to go over today, and I'm going to use some PDFs and we're going to go over some concepts to try to break it down into steps of what's the most important thing to do first if you're not the best swimmer, because so many people didn't grow up swimming, or they just have a fear of the water, right? So I actually have a few athletes right now that are struggling with that fear, and I definitely have some tips and tricks to help overcome that anxiety if you have that issue, right? So we're going to start with the basics, how to swim, what's most important when you learn how to swim. And then we're going to talk about a little bit of training, not much training, just because it's too big of a topic. We can definitely revisit this if you guys have more questions about it. But it's just so comprehensive because we are land mammals and it's a water thing, and we're in the water, so there's so many things that we need to learn and help overcome. So let's just get right to it. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we're gonna go. I have a couple of classes. So Swim 101 is going to be the first class or first PDF we're gonna review, and this is just gonna help me keep you guys like understanding the whole process of swimming in order of what's important, okay? So obviously when you learn how to swim, you wanna make sure you have the right equipment, okay? So having some fins can really, really help you just up level your ability to learn without having a lot of fitness. So fins are kind of mandatory if you're new to swimming, but there's something that you're always gonna use the whole entire lifespan of your swim career, right? So fins are something that, Michael Phelps, hopefully everybody on the call knows who that is, even though he's a retired swimmer. He always used fins in his workouts, right? So don't think that fins are cheating. They're actually a great way to help improve your kick, but they also help you up level so that you're not struggling and can't learn more, right? Because if we waited for you to get a perfect kick to be able to then swim better, it would just be too long. So having a good pair of fins is great. I have an account at swimoutlet.com/full circle. I have a store, and the fins that I recommend are on there, as well as all the other swim equipment. So please check that out. A kickboard is also definitely a huge asset when you're learning how to swim. I love the alignment kickboard. It's a small triangle kickboard, not a huge, big kickboard. And I'll explain what the benefit of having a smaller kickboard is. And then more advanced equipment would include paddles. Okay, so hand paddles that kind of make your hand a little bit bigger, so you kind of get a feel for the water. And then having a pool buoy to help hold your hips up when you're using your paddle, so you only have to focus on your arms. And then sometimes even using a front mount snorkel, okay? So a snorkel, it's a little bit tricky to learn in the beginning because you're not breathing out of your mouth, in and out of your mouth. You are, but your nose is open, so it can kind of feel a little bit weird. But it's a great tool to help you get balanced in the water. And that's one of the key concepts that we're going to go over today. So that's equipment. Then as far as pool language, this can be confusing a little bit too. So one length of the pool is typically labeled as a lap. Some coaches say up and back is a lap, but for me, one way is one lap, okay? And that equates to 25 yards or 25 meters, depending on where you are. So most pools in Europe are 25 meters or 50 meters. That's really long course. But in America, we have a 50-meter pool that's usually can be used long course, and then they turn it sideways and have lanes that divide into 25 yards. So just make sure you're measuring your workouts accurately. If you have a Garmin, make sure the setting is correct on meters or yards, 50 yards, 25 meters, or 25 yards. And then it also has a custom setting. So if you have a pool and you can measure how long your pool is, you can actually record your workouts like that. So when I say in a workout, it says 4 times 25 yards, that means swim or do the drill or kick one length of the pool and then rest, stop and rest. And the difference in the lingo would be if I was giving you a different kind of workout, I would say 4 by 50. So that means both down and back before you rest, okay? And then if I said do 100 yards, that's 4 laps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you rest. And it's really, really important in the beginning to not push the distance. So if you can make it across the pool like 25 yards and you're not out of breath, then you can start to practice to go to the 50s. But if you're in the middle of the 50 and on the way back, you completely fall apart, that means you need to rest on the wall more after every lap. And don't worry, it'll come to you. Your endurance will improve the more you're in the water. Your feel for the water will get better. So I hope I answered the questions or explained enough about the lingo of the distance in the pool. Okay, so breathing. Breathing is probably the most underrated portion of swimming there is. Coaches rarely talk about breathing. And that's probably the #1 question I have athletes ask me. I just cannot breathe when I swim. And these people come to me, usually they're like killer runners, awesome cyclists, and they get in the pool and they literally can't even make it, you know, 50 yards. And the #1 reason is because they're not breathing. So breathing is essential. Now, how do you breathe when you're swimming? You want to teach yourself to exhale out of your nose, you know, blow bubbles out of your nose and inhale through your mouth. And there's a rhythm and a pattern to it, okay? So you want to be able to exhale about 3 seconds out of your nose and then come up and breathe, inhale. And ideally, we're going to get to the next part, which is your balance, but you want to be able to do that with your head looking straight down, and then you're going to roll on your side to breathe as opposed to lift your head to breathe. Okay, so practicing breathing on land can actually really help you breathe in the water. So being able to take deep diaphragmatic breaths, you know, while you're on your back and while you're on your belly can be great training for when you're in the pool, and actually practicing blowing air out of your nose, right? And inhale through your mouth, right? So teaching yourself that pattern. So that's one of the very first things that I always include in my training programs, and especially with newer swimmers, and especially if I have swimmers that are having panic or anxiety about being in the water. So breathing is like number one, has to come first. If you're not breathing properly and I tell you how to kick or I tell you what to do with your arm, your brain is not going to register it, because your brain is only thinking, I need to breathe. If I don't breathe, I'm going to die. So if you don't have the breathing down, it's not likely that you're going to improve in swimming, because you don't have that constant oxygen coming in, getting to the brain so you can relax. And also breathing out of your nose is very calming, right? So it's a parasympathetic energy system or nervous system. When you exhale or inhale through your nose, it's actually calming. Now, don't get me wrong, there will be times when you need to exhale out of your mouth, especially in the open water, right? If you swallow some salt water. So you want to be able to do both, but you want to set the pattern that you're exhaling through your nose most of the time, about 70% of the time, okay? So mobility, having enough mobility to swim and have good balance, here's an image for you, is super essential in not resisting the water, right? So the person on top here, they're gonna go through the water a lot more fluidly and with less resistance than this person down here. They're also gonna work a lot less. They're gonna waste a lot less energy. So it's super duper important to have the flexibility to even get into a streamline. I ask people to do that and they're stuck in this position. They don't even realize that they don't have this length, right? So I recommend looking in the mirror with your arms overhead. You can put your hands like layered on top of each other, line up your middle fingers and anchor one thumb over the other. One hand usually feels better. And then go ahead and straighten your arms overhead and look at yourself in the mirror, a full length mirror, and see if you look like a spear. If you don't, if you have a sway back and your butt is sticking way out, or if your chest is forward and your shoulders are rounded and you don't have straight arms, these are things that you're never going to be able to swim well if you don't have that minimum amount of mobility, okay? So we're just trying to reduce drag and work on our balance, which is the next piece, right? So your head and chest, you want to be down in the water. This person's eyes are looking straight down. They're not looking forward. When you're looking forward, your head is up, your hips are down, and you're causing tons of drag, okay? So just want to have a good streamline through your whole body, okay? So let's focus on balance. Bubble breathing are some of the drills that we use. balance is just being super streamlined in the water. I thought I had a video, but I guess I don't. Okay, I do have a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel, but I'm not going to play them because they don't come out well on Zoom. So please go to the Full Circle Coaching YouTube channel. And let's just talk about balance. So what does it take to be balanced in the water? So you want to be able to have your body act like a seesaw, meaning when you're very stiff through your core, right? So you're not bent at your hips or your waist right here. You don't want to have a bend right here. You want to be super streamlined and in a straight line. And if you notice this person's body, the head is slightly lower than the ankles. Okay, so if you drew a straight line, and the arms are a little bit below the head, and the head and chest are below the feet, right? So it's almost like a downhill slope, and that is by far your fastest position in the water. Okay, so it's kind of cool because your lungs are filled with air, obviously, and you're going to be exhaling and inhaling, but they still hold oxygen, so they kind of help you float. But when you press down against that buoy, what we call our buoy is our lungs, when we press down and you have a strong body, you can actually get your hips and your feet to the surface, okay? And remember, we want straight legs. Like so many times, swimmers that are good runners and cyclists, they kick in the water with bent knees, right? So your knees do bend a little bit, but it's very, very minimal. And you want the motion from your kick to come from your hips. So in order of importance right now is breathing, making sure you're bubble breathing. Then you want to work on your balance and your streamline with maybe stretching, using a foam roller. I have, like I said, other videos on my YouTube channel that show you how to stretch using the foam roller. So please take advantage of that. Google, you can also Google other people that have foam roller stretching, but the goal is to get as streamlined as possible to be able to have that perfect balance and press down on the upper body and the hips coming up. And then the third piece is the kick, right? So your kick should be totally floppy coming from your hips, okay? Not bending at your knees, right? And kicking as if you're running in the pool because you won't go anywhere, okay? So those are like 3 super duper important components of swimming. So moving on, getting really good at your balance on your belly, on your back, and on your sides is a really great place to start. And you're just kicking and breathing and focusing on your streamline. And you can use a kickboard to do this. You can use no kickboard and just practice with your hands out in front. And again, I have all these videos available online on my YouTube channel, which I highly recommend you guys going to check out. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the stroke mechanics side of things, which can be a little bit complicated, but it's the whole part of, it's the most important, it's really not the most important part, but it's an essential part of the whole freestyle swim stroke. Honestly, your kick, your balance, and your breathing are more important than your arms. Because if you had a perfect stroke cycle, like which I'm about to explain, if it was perfect, everything you did with your arms was perfect, and you didn't have a kick, and you didn't have a streamline, and you're not breathing properly, your arms will not pull you anywhere. It's like too much resistance, right? So in order, breathing, balance, and kicking. And you need to master those 3 things on your belly, on your back, and on your side. And you'll know if you're in your sweet spot because you'll be smoothly going down the pool, right? You're not going to be dragging or struggling to make your way across the pool or the open water. So the cool thing about even practicing some drills in the open water is that salt actually helps you float better, right? So you can actually be more buoyant and get a little bit more comfortable sometimes in the open water, separate if you have a fear of like open water stuff, which is a totally different topic. Okay, so we are going to go to swim 102, which is your stroke mechanics, okay? So, excuse me, I've broken down the stroke cycle into 5 parts. Some people use 6 parts, but for me it's 5. So we're gonna focus on your freestyle stroke, right? And believe it or not, you don't have to have big muscles and big arms to swim well. I'm a pretty fast swimmer, and you can see I have very skinny arms, right? How is that possible? Well, honestly, the longer you are, right? The longer you are, the faster you go through the water. So your streamline is everything. So the stretching has to happen. But after that, we're gonna talk about one arm at a time. You're gonna think about your entry. It's just about shoulder width apart, right? So I'm not here. I'm not focusing on entering my hand in front of my face. That's incorrect. So we're gonna enter to the right, pretty much right in line with my shoulder. My hand is pretty much in line with my shoulder, maybe a little bit to the outside. You can also think about the shape of a Y. I like to think about that. Or I also use the image of a clock where your head is 12, your right arm is reaching for 1 o'clock, your left arm is reaching for 11 o'clock, okay? So we're thinking about one arm only, and you wanna enter with your fingertips first into the water. And ideally, your elbow is always above your wrist, is always above your fingertips, right? So you're gonna enter and then reach out to 1 o'clock, in this case with my right arm. So enter and reach. From there, you wanna catch the water with a high elbow, okay? So when you enter, the reason why we want our fingertips first is because it creates a little hole in the water. Water is 3 to 4 times more dense than air. So we don't wanna have a lot of resistance when we first enter. And a lot of people enter with a super straight arm and they push down on the water. And then what happens when they do that is their body pops up and then it goes down. And that again creates drag. So by entering your hand with a little bit of a hole with the fingertips, it allows the arm, the wrist and the arm to slip right into the water with a lot less resistance. Think about having no bubbles as you enter, okay? So then you're gonna enter and then you're gonna reach out to 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And on that reach is where you wanna get on your side. This is how the rotation of swimming is super duper important because you can be a lot stronger when you finally catch the water. All right, so we got enter, reach, catch. And see that nice high elbow bend? This is a lever that allows me to use my lats a lot better. And I have more power with a bend in my elbow than pulling all the way down with a straight arm, okay? So you wanna enter, reach, catch, and then when you finish, you're gonna go all the way down to your thigh, and then the last part is a high elbow recovery. You want your fingertips to be just about 1 inch above the water as you go and reach again. Now, the recovery can be not high elbow, it can be a little bit of a straight arm recovery, because as you get into your own style and you have your own rhythm, you know, it might not be perfectly straight. So sometimes when I see myself on video, I'm kind of out here, but I'm still very relaxed. The whole idea is when you're done pulling hard under the water and really grabbing the water, that's where the force should happen. And then above the water, it should be very effortless. That's why they call it recovery, okay? I hope that makes sense. And these are just a list of drills that I have on my website. on YouTube, that kind of show you how to do the drills as far as how to help you break down the stroke cycle, okay? So the 5 components of swimming are really, there's one more piece that I haven't mentioned, but I'm going to show you a video and I'm hoping it's gonna play. If not, we'll have to refer you to the video. But anyway, so breathing, balance, kicking, right? And then the stroke cycle. There's 2 things we didn't review, which was your rotation, getting on your side, okay? So you are faster when you swim on your side, okay? So the more you can reach to get completely on your side with your hips and then rotate to the other side, you can actually have more power to catch the water. Now, how do you analyze that? That can be analyzed by a video, of course. Swim video doesn't lie and it's a great tool. But also you can do it yourself. How many strokes does it take you to get across the pool? A lot of times I'll work with people and they'll take 30, maybe even 40 strokes to get across the pool, right? And maybe they're breathing well and they're floating, but they just literally have no power to pull themselves forward, or they're not even getting on their side at all. So my rule of thumb for stroke count, 1 arm is 1 stroke, right? 1, 2, 3, right? If you can get across the pool in 20 strokes or less, you're doing a pretty good job of getting on your side, gliding a little bit and catching some, right? Now, again, you want to get as low as possible, especially during your warm up and cool down. And then as far as stroke count across the pool, I'm always counting my strokes across the pool. But when you're doing speed work, don't worry about your stroke count as much. You can go up as high as 25, 26, right? And stroke count can be dependent on how tall you are, but there's plenty of swimmers that are tiny and have amazing low stroke counts because they're so powerful underwater, okay? So I'm just gonna review these 8 key concepts. Let's check the time. Okay, I'm right on time as far as 20 minutes. So, you know, this is just another PDF I'm gonna send you guys. So breathing, 70% out of your nose, 30% out of your mouth. Remember, you're always inhaling through your mouth, okay? So that has to come first. You have to be comfortable in the water. If you have fear or panic, please reach out to me. I have some tools that can help you. But the more you get in the water, the less panic you're going to have. And the more skill you have, the less panic you're going to have. Okay, streamlined spear, we talked about making sure you're as straight as a spear in the water, but go ahead and check your streamline in the mirror from the front and the back to make sure you don't see anything sticking out too far or your elbows bent or your legs are bent, okay? Head position, super important. A lot of people just swim with their heads up the whole time, right? And they have neck pain just because you're holding your head like this. Your neck should be completely neutral in the water. You're just looking straight down. And then when you go to breathe, you literally want to turn your head to breathe so that only one goggle is out of the water. And notice I can have my mouth completely clear to breathe without doing a face, right? I don't have to do that at all if my head is low enough in the water, right? So it looks like this. Blow your bubbles and then turn your head to breathe. That's probably one of the most common things that I see when I'm coaching swimming is people's heads are way too high. Okay, hand position. Your hand is really important because if your thumb is up or down at any time during your catch, you're slipping through the water. You're not grabbing water, right? So you want to make sure you have a flat hand with your fingertips slightly below your wrist at all times. And this is my reach, right? So my reach is not like that. It's like this, okay? So when I enter the water, it looks like this. Enter, see the nice barrel shape, right? Fingertips first, enter into the water. I get on my side. This is my long stretch. Then I catch with the water with a high elbow, and then I finish all the way down to my thigh. So hand position is always either face down and slightly tilted or straight back, okay? Body length. Oh, sorry, I gotta look, I'm looking at myself in the video. Okay, so body length, the longer you are, right, the faster you go, your reach and finish. So a lot of times people swim and they forget to extend all the way out and finish all the way down to your thigh. If you stand up, just to remind yourself, like before you get in the pool and you stretch out, you just wanna have your arms straight down by your side and go ahead and reach your thumbs as low as they go down on your thighs. And that should be your exit point of your hand for every stroke, right? You wanna finish all the way down. And then the high elbow is above the water and then a high elbow below the water. And then the clock image, right? So your head is 12, your feet are at 6. You're super streamlined. You're reaching for 11 and 1, right? And you're finishing at 5 and 7. And I think that's it. Okay, so let's try to see if I can play this video. And I'm not sure. Oh, actually, it's not going to happen. Well, anyway, so Mr. Swim Smooth is a great app that I would love for you guys to check out, swimsmooth.com. He's not going to play for me right now, but it's a great video so that you can, I'm going to stop the screen share. How do I do that? So that you can see what it looks like in action. So I highly recommend, he's free, right? He's completely free. Let's see, no. I can't figure out how to do stop screen share. Let's see. Stop share, there it is. Okay, so speaker view. There I am. Okay, so how come I don't see anybody though? Okay, so anyway, check out Mr. Swim Smooth because he's a great video on how it should look like and how smooth it is. And when you're there, you can push pause and slow him down to really slow motion so that you can see everything. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole lesson, but I wanna answer any questions you guys might have. So I'm gonna switch it over to gallery view. And if you have a question, go ahead and just unmute yourself, right? One at a time. And if we have two at a time, I'll pick on someone. All right, anybody have a question? No? You're good, Vicky? You understand about the kick a little bit more? Straight legs coming from the hips, yeah? Unmute yourself.
Yeah, and I went out the other night.
Wait, I can't hear you yet.
I says I went out the other night with my fins on.
I don't know why I can't hear you. Technical difficulties.
I can hear her, Erin.
Might not be able to have any questions.
You can hear
Joseph. I I can't hear anything.
Vicky, I hear you.
I have no idea.
Well,
Okay.
I went out with my fins on,
I
and
can't hear anything.
that made my legs go straighter. So
Well.
that really works.
Here, let's see if I can figure this out. So I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so why does it say that I'm muted? So there's the, oh, that's it. Okay, so let me try to unmute. You're unmuted. I don't know why I can't hear you. I can't hear a thing.
Mary, that's me.
I know, but I can't unmute Vicky. Like, I don't know why I can't hear her. Huh? Okay. Sorry. Hi, Monica. Let's see. I don't know.
Vicky's not muted. It's her mic that's not working.
Oh, he said it's your mic that's not working, Vicky, not mine. See if you can turn up your microphone. Testing, testing.
Okay, how's that? Can you hear me now?
Don't hear anything.
Vicky, I can hear you.
You can? I don't hear anything.
And
I
this
hear.
is,
That's the problem. I don't hear. Oh my God, you guys, I feel so dumb. I forgot to put my headphones on.
Now,
Okay, now I can hear you. Now, yes, total, but my bad. Okay, so explain about your kick.
Okay, when I put the fins on, I really felt it more.
Right. So the fins are corrective, right? They lengthen your legs so that you feel where the kick should be coming from. And initially you might be doing this, but it's really important to squeeze your quads and actually squeeze your glutes so that the power comes from here. And that's why we also do that flutter kick drill on land, you know, the one that we do on land to help you strengthen those muscles, right?
And I was doing my kick, but when I rotate, I feel like I'm kicking.
You are,
You are
100%.
kicking. You're supposed to be. Okay, well then I feel that.
Yeah, so you're kicking on your belly or your back, and when you're on your side, it looks just like that. You don't want to change it.
You don't
right?
want
It's,
to be just
no, you don't want to. You don't want to twist. It's
So
shoulders.
twisting.
You're not twisting.
Twisting your whole body. You're
Correct.
not
Yes.
just going with your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's side to side, side to side, the whole time. So your shoulders, your hips, and your ankles are always aligned.
That makes much more sense now.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, anybody else have a question?
hi, this is Lisa.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Good. I just want to confirm for like a pool at LA Fitness, should my Garmin be set to 25 meters?
No, yards.
25 yards.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Okay.
16 laps is the distance of the sprint?
Yes, exactly. And that's also the swim test that I'd like you to try to do, you know, now so that we can see how you do no matter how long it takes you. Like even if you have to kick on your back, you know, go ahead and test yourself for that 16 laps. Even if you have to dog paddle or breaststroke your way, right? And then by the time we get to the race, the idea is to obviously be better, more confident, and do that in a much faster time. I heard, are you going to be able to come to the workout tomorrow?
I'm not sure. What time
Okay.
is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow it's Saturday at 7. Well, 6:45 we like to meet so we can get in the water. But I'd love to see you, you know, train a little bit because I haven't seen you at all yet.
Great. Okay.
All right, well, think about it. Any other questions?
I will.
No, we're good. Kenneth, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, I'm you know, to do the whole length of the race, I had to, a couple times I've had to get on my back and
Right.
had to lift my head out of the water, which I need to practice a little more anyway, but I'm getting better at getting it right back in the water and getting to it. And I've got to do a little better rotating my body back and forth.
Right.
You know, I feel like I'm getting a lot stronger, a lot better, and my breathing's starting to get better. So
Okay.
just takes practice.
Yeah, it's just practice, practice, practice. So please check out the bubble blowing video on the YouTube channel. Like that's the pattern, right? And then go ahead and look at the kicking. There's a kicking sequence. So it shows you how to kick on your belly, how to kick on your side. And when you get really good at kicking on your side and not only that one goggle coming out, you really can get your balance when you start to add your strokes. Okay?
I feel I feel like I'm rotating to one side to breathe,
And not the
rotating.
other. Yeah.
And that's what I need to.
Yeah.
That's what. Really
So that's a really good point. Thank you so much for sharing that, because when you breathe, it's more natural that you rotate, right? But you still want to rotate just as much to the other side, even though you're not breathing on that side. And when your head just stays straight down, and your hips and shoulders and rotate on to the other side, right? So your body's still rotating side to side, but your head stays down or turns to breathe to one side or the other, right? It doesn't go with you all the time, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and doing one arm drills is a great way to practice rotating to the breathing side, both ways. And also being able to swim on to both or breathe to both sides is a huge skill, especially in open water. If you have waves coming at you or someone's splashing water over here, you can choose to breathe to the other side, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And then I do have an open water swim video coming out soon. So, and then we're practicing every Saturday in the open water. So please, if you can ever make it, that's a great place. And if you ever want me to look at a video, we'll probably end up doing one more swim video or swim recording, just because, open water skills is completely different. And we'll actually probably focus on that during the race day recording. So next week, we're going to be recording about cycling. So all about cycling. But any more questions about swimming? Eileen, how are you? No, she's available.
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. How's your training going? I can't hear you anymore. Technical difficulties. All right, there you are. I think I hear you.
You're breaking up. I can't.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Sorry. Can't hear you. All right, you guys. I didn't take too much time. So just 12 and a half, only 30 minutes. So happy swimming, repetition, repetition, repetition. And don't forget the basics. So a great way for training and to practice.
Doing well.
Okay, good. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Hello?
Yeah, it's really garbled though. I don't know why. Monica, you have a question?
Yeah, since my pool is really short and the public pools or park pools don't open till 7, I've been using this like bungee harness thing.
Yeah.
How do you suggest that I train with it? I mean, I wanted to do that because it kind of like helps me. It simulates the open water instead of constantly turning and turning.
Right.
Because there you can't really do laps.
No, you can't. So you can do things by time or stroke count, right? So you could do typically one lap we talked about was 20 strokes, right? So you could do 20 strokes and rest, 20 strokes and rest. Or if you're going to practice longer sets, right? You could do, 40s, 60s, 80s, or 100 strokes. So 1, 2, 3 before you stop and rest. Honestly, the bungee doesn't really help you with your form. You have to actually press a lot harder to get your head and chest down and your feet up. But I do recommend maybe using your buoy. So using a buoy between your legs and just focusing on the upper body, because it doesn't really allow you to have your own balance. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. And then you're doing good in the open water. So honestly, I'd rather you get on the bungee than not do it. You know what I mean? So still use the bungee. Yeah.
I just realized that when I swim, it's like I'm constantly turning and turning and turning. So it just doesn't.
Yeah. Just use the bungee and try to just focus on the upper body part of it. And then, we'll get the kicking and putting it all together on the weekends. Does that make sense? Okay, cool.
Aaron, I got a question.
Sure.
On the Saturdays, are you going to swim next Saturday, or are you working on something else next Saturday?
No, next Saturday, there's also a brick. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. I may see if I can come down for that.
Awesome. Okay, that'd be great. Yeah. The idea is to get there by 6:45 just because the parking has been super duper limited. But we were fine. This past Saturday, we had no problem.
I'll just spend the night down there Friday night and then come over.
Bring your bike and your run shoes too, because it's going to be it's going to be like a little brick workout. And tomorrow we're also going to do a little transition, and we'll have the transition rack next weekend as well. Okay.
The other question I've got is I'm 2 weeks ahead of everybody with my race and a week behind in training. So you you challenged me probably more than I should have, but I feel pretty good. So my question is, you know, I get to that. So I basically got 3 weeks from Sunday before my race. And so one of the things, are you going to be putting in my training peaks what I need to be doing that week of the race?
So the Saturday is your day to practice race specific, right?
Yeah.
So I would go ahead and this weekend and definitely next weekend, go ahead and practice the distances that your race is going to be. But the difference is going to be you're not going to be going all out like you will be on race day. You're going to be going slow and purposeful and really just focusing. You're going to get the distance done and then maybe include a few intervals during those Saturday trainings to kind of get the feel of how it's going to feel on race day. But you want to save race day for race day, where you put it all together and you're pushing the whole time, and use these brick trainings that are on the weekend as simulations, but not the whole intensity, right? You want to hold back on the intensity, include some little intervals like 2-minute or 4-minute intervals, but don't waste it all on every single Saturday workout. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You're not going to you're not going to take the time to improve. You're not going to think about your form. You're not going to think about your pedaling mechanics or your run mechanics, right? So it's important to practice transitions because it does affect you differently. The more you do them, the easier they become, 100%, especially with the heat right now. The more you have that run off the bike in the next 2 to 3 weeks, the better that race is going to be, okay? And then try to think about during the week, having some more intervals. I mean, the program you're in is very, very beginner and you're a little bit more advanced, you know, so you could throw in like a couple of intervals at race pace on your bike and on your run over the next 2 weeks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then also on Saturdays, please practice your nutrition. Okay. So we did talk about race day nutrition. I think it was two weeks ago. So, you know, you can listen to that again. If you have any questions, please reach out in the chat. I'm happy to recommend different things. But yes, because the nutrition can affect you differently when it's hotter, right? So it is hotter for sure right now. So you want to dial that in and make sure you have enough energy to cross the finish line. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good question. Very, very good question. All right. Any other questions, you guys? Okay. Awesome. Well, have a great weekend. If I don't see you, and most of you guys I'm hoping to see tomorrow on the key for a swim, bike, run. All right. Bye, you guys. Happy swimming.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. I don't think it recorded. Oh, there it is. I don't know. I don't think it recorded. I think I messed up.